Hi guys, and welcome back to my Texas Chainsaw Massacre series movie reviews, and today we'll be looking at Texas Chainsaw. This is going to be good.
Everybody's a suspect!
Coming to get you, Bobber.
Texas Chainsaw is the 2013 horror movie directed by John Lucenhop, and it stars Alexandra Daddario, Tania Raymond and Scott Eastwood. As with all the movies in this series guys, this is going to be a spoiler review. A young woman travels to Texas to collect an inheritance. Little does she know that an encounter with a chainsaw wielding killer is part of the reward. I think this is unintentional, but this was the first movie, or the first modern horror movie, that started the trend of ignoring sequels in a franchise and going straight back to the first movie. So this is a direct sequel to the first movie. I went into the cinema not reading reviews about this, not knowing what the score was on IMDb. I went into it with a fresh mind, thinking this could be good, this could be bad. Knowing that it's a direct sequel, Kim Henkel is involved as well. Again, we'll get into Kim Henkel shortly. So I thought, okay, this could be good. And then when the movie just started, and I went to see it in 3D, and I know 3D is just a gimmick, but watching the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 3D for the first few minutes was mind-blowing. And I thought, wow, this is great. And it was a seamless transition between the first movie, or when it was set in 1974, carrying over to what we've got now in Texas Chainsaw. So I thought, straight away, this is going to be a great movie, but boy was I wrong. Straight away, it got very confusing for me, and I don't know if it's just for myself or you guys as well, but we've got Bill Moseley, who's now playing Drayton Sawyer. That's obviously understandable because the original Drayton isn't alive. And then you've got Gunnar Hansen there playing someone called Boss Sawyer. I know that Gunnar Hansen's only there just as a cameo because he played the original Leatherface, but when you look at the family in the house, where did they all come from? None of them were mentioned in the original movie, so straight away, that's questionable. Here's where it gets complicated. Now we can assume that the start of this movie takes place on August 19th, 1973. There's even a code that Heather has to put into one of the gates, which is 0819 August 19th. So we can confirm that yes, the beginning took place on the original date, because this is the true sequel to the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But then we've got this little baby that was kidnapped possibly a day after the events of the first movie, because I think it went from nighttime to daytime. So she got kidnapped in the morning, and she didn't look anywhere near old enough to be an old kid or anything. So she was about, what, let's say 2-3 months old. We then cut to modern day 2012, and now this baby is 39 years old. 39 years old? Now clearly Heather isn't supposed to be 39 years old, but we've also got 2012 technology, and it's definitely set in 2012 modern day. Why not just set it in, say, 1990 when she's a teenager? Again, this is Kim Henkel, who has no concept of time. I think halfway through the production of this movie, or even when the movie was finished, Kim Henkel and the crew maybe looked at it and thought, we didn't think of this. She's supposed to be a 39-year-old woman and she looks like a teenager. What are we going to do? So I think they tried their best to hide the year in the 1970s, so the 1973 massacre, they tried their best to hide the year. You'll notice that in a few of the scenes. There was one scene where they slipped up though, and we did see 1973, but it just goes to show that the time frame or the timeline that we're on, that doesn't make or break a movie, but it doesn't help with what they've done with it, especially since this is supposed to be, again, the true sequel to the original. Some of the movie did feel a little atmospheric, and that was when Leatherface was chasing people and you could see him in the background. I think that was probably the only good thing about this film. No, there's Jigsaw, very good. Things then spiral out of control. They go from bad to worse. We're now supposed to feel sorry for the Sawyers after everything that happened in the true original with what they'd done to the victims in the first movie. We're now supposed to feel sorry for them because people got vengeance and killed most of the family in this movie. Why? In some of the movies, I noticed that some of the victims went from sane to completely insane in a short space of time, and that's what happens in this movie.
I'm a Sawyer.
Heather goes from being this sane girl who's scared of Leatherface to somebody who's completely insane, as if she's always known who the Sawyers were. And then if you think things couldn't get any worse, this happens.
Do your thing, cuz.
After everything that went down in this movie, all the illegal activity that went on, you've then got a police officer watching Leatherface killing a mayor of a town, and he does nothing, he just walks away. Where's the just in that? How is that justice? I know that Leatherface is killing a mayor for killing his family, but at the same time, Leatherface killed innocent people in 1973, and you're just going to walk away? And then because Heather becomes so comfortable now that she's a Sawyer and he's not going to kill her, she's all happy now and she forgets all about what happened to her friends. My biggest issue with this film was Kim Henkel. Why did he have to come back? Why did he have to come and mess up the timeline once again? He's got no perception of time. He truly has no perception of time. I think he is the sort of director who's stuck in the 70s and he's trying to make a movie based on what he would have known back in the 70s, and that's it. And that's why this movie was such a mess. This movie is also coming off the back of the remake and the prequel. I know that the remake and the prequel have their haters, but those movies were great. And if you didn't like them before, you were probably wishing for them to come back, because that timeline is my preferred timeline. The cinematography was there. I mentioned with the scenes with Leatherface coming out of the woods and stuff, the cinematography was there. The look of the movie was actually not too bad. The acting wasn't terrible. The lines that they were given were terrible, so the script was awful. But the actors themselves weren't bad. There was nobody that I hated as an actor. I just hated most of the characters. If we talk about Leatherface quite quickly, he was old and he couldn't run and he had a bad knee. I know that you look at Michael Myers in the 2018 movie, he's 61 years old, but he doesn't have to run because that's the type of character he is. Whereas in this movie, Leatherface has to run and chase his victims, and you could walk away from him and he wouldn't catch you. That's how easy it is to get away from. He's not menacing at all. He looks a lot smaller. I think he is taller than Gunnar Hansen, but he looks a lot smaller in this film than he did in any other Texas Chainsaw movie. And also, his name is Jedediah in this film, just like the remake kid.
Jedediah.
We get no explanation, or none that I saw, between the Carson and the Sawyer family. How did Leatherface come into money? I'm assuming because of the events on a future movie, but I'm assuming that the Sawyers married into the Carson family, who were rich. What the Carsons saw in any Sawyer, I have no idea, but they married into the Carson family and then he became a rich Leatherface. So far-fetched. At the end of the day, guys, this was a modern take on a character from the 1970s, and usually you can bring these characters into modern day and do good with them, like what we saw with the prequel and the remake. But we've got a guy like Kim Henkel and the rest of his crew that are giving us a modern take on someone with really outdated writing. So have you guys seen Texas Chainsaw or Texas Chainsaw 3D? And I'd like to know your thoughts on the movie overall, as well as the timeline. Did the timeline confuse you, or did you just think to yourself, just like I did, that the timeline confused the writers? As always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.